everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the InstaBizCoach Podcast. This is your host, Anabelle Martinez, and I'm so happy that you are here today learning about InstaBizCoach and how we can help you grow your business. I started InstaBizCoach as an agency to help small businesses like myself that are struggling to find ways to achieve their marketing goals, their sales goals, their business management goals, everything that you need to learn. I'm going to be creating courses, content through InstaBizCoach.com. That is where you can find all the resources, and also through this podcast, because I know a lot of business owners don't have a lot of time, right? So if you're busy driving, you can just pop this podcast on and learn something new to help grow and manage your business. So if you'd like to follow along and share with friends and family, we're excited for you to get started in learning more about running your business. Welcome to the first episode of InstaBizCoach Podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about my history as a business owner and how I got started and how I got to where I am now, where I have my business in Mexico, and now I can travel wherever I want and live wherever I want remotely because I was able to set up my businesses to run smoothly. And that is what I do now as a business coach. I help other business owners plan and manage their business so that it runs as smoothly and effectively as possible. So let's start at age 24. At age 24 is when I opened my first business. This was 7 years ago. I am now 31 years old. So between the ages of 24 and 31, I have since opened 4 different businesses, both in the United States and in Mexico. Some in person, some online, and I have coached over 200 plus businesses through the SBA, which is Small Business Administration for the U.S. government. And I was hired through Chambers of Commerce, through the programs that they had during COVID, and that is how I got my career started as a business consultant. The Cash App is the best banking system for new business owners. You can add cash to it, you could receive cash to it, you could send cash, but the best part is that you can just hold your cash in there and invest it. I always use it for investing. You don't have to buy a full stock, let's say Costco stock, let's say Target stock. Those are over $200 worth of stock, and you don't have to purchase all of it. You could purchase $10 worth of stock and you still own part of it. So that is why the Cash App is such a good banking system to use. I still use it to this day after 8 years in business because it's a great second banking system for me and my businesses. So I highly recommend the Cash App. Go download it. Start using it today. You can use my promo code. Find all the information you need in the description below the podcast. So my first business at 24 was a tutoring center. Yes, I wanted to open a tutoring center after school program for students to come and get the help that they needed, because when I was in college, I used to tutor, but I tutored adults in ESL. So I mainly worked with parents and adults that needed help learning English. And what I noticed was that these parents were bringing in their kindergarten child's homework that wasn't English, and they would bring it to class so that I can help them. And then they would go home late at night, 8 p.m., and return back and then teach their child and help them with their homework. And this is when I realized that there was a high need for, especially for working class immigrant families, where the English was a language barrier. There was a big language barrier. And I said, okay, I need to start something. And I remember my dad was like, well, if you've worked at tutoring centers before, you run the programs, you can open a business. I didn't even think about being a business owner. Until my dad said, why don't you just do it yourself? And I said, how am I going to open a business? I don't know anything about opening a business. And what my dad told me, I will never forget. He said, if I opened a business and I don't even know English, you can do it. You went to the university. You have all the resources. You can do it. 7 years later, here I am. Now me and my dad can talk about business unlimitedly, indefinitely, business conversations. And it all started from him telling me that I could do it. So I started the tutoring center in Pilsen. First, it was a little office. I put up little flyers. So I went ahead. I incorporated my business. I learned about incorporating. I figured out how to do it. I went online. I reached out to Chambers of Commerce. I tried to do as much as you can to get the ball rolling, right? You're like, where do I start? It looks like there's a web of opportunities, different options that you can start in, and you have to pick one. and I decided that I needed to incorporate in order to have my name. The first thing you need to do, right, is pick your name. Maestri Tutoring is what I decided. Maestri means the teachers in Latin. It was perfect. The teachers. Maestri. After that, shortly after that, I was able to move into a storefront space, and we were in Pilsen, 19th and through for 5 years. So between 2007 till 2019, 2020 was when I ran the tutoring center, and I had the tutoring center. I had staff. I had over 20 staff members, and we had after school programs. We had one-on-one tutoring. It was all in person. Then we had our summer camp programs. Every summer it was called Camp Genius. It was magical, but it was pretty much a nonprofit. I was working full time still at a tech company, and after that I was working, right, I was running the tutoring center. So when COVID came around, I had to close the tutoring center, and that's when I decided to move it online. And now it is online, so you can visit us at www.maestritutoring.com, where you could book your online tutoring services for $25 an hour, or you can get a package deal. And we work with students ages 4 to adults in all subjects, and all in English and in Spanish. Okay, so that is the tutoring center. That is my first business. Now, I opened the juice bar, which is Juice Vibe, here in Berwyn, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. I opened that in another episode. I'll talk about my history, growing up in Cicero, and why I opened the juice bar here in the Cicero Berwyn area. But this is where I grew up, and this is why I opened it in Berwyn. So the juice bar I opened in 2019. Initially, I had opened it with a friend. After 6 months, it was me that was running it, and now it's my business. So the juice bar was opened in 2019, which overlapped with the tutoring center. I was running both of them at the same time at that point because I was no longer working at the tech company, so I had more time. And I was like, perfect, the juice bar opens from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then I ran to the tutoring center from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. That was my life for about 6 months until I took over the juice bar fully, and I then closed the tutoring center and moved it online. So then I was only focused on the juice bar. And the juice bar was not that it was new to me, because I had already worked in the restaurant industry, and I was also working previous to this as a executive assistant, working with developing restaurants and growing them and franchising them. So to me, it was like, oh, cool, this will be a nice little side thing. And for people that know about restaurants, you know that there is no side thing. That's when I also learned that the restaurant industry is where it's at. That's where people are always going. They can go every single day. The tutoring center, they would go once or twice a week, the students. But for restaurants, you can have customers go every single day. And it's a juice bar. It's all natural, no sugar, no, it's all natural. We also don't add dairy, so everything is almond milk based. And to this day, that is how it is. And since day one, that is how it's been. And I'm so proud of the juice bar because it wasn't a plan that I had in mind. And it slowly, the community helped build it. And my employees and everyone's input was really, really helpful. But the best thing that stood us out was that we opened right before the pandemic. We opened like November of 2019, and the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And that's when we were like, what are we going to do with it? And then we're closing everything except for restaurants. So we were able to stay open. And that's when I took over it completely. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go tech. So I started incorporated Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash. I started creating our website. That is when I became even more, I learned more about all the back end stuff, the POS, the Toasts, Squares, Shopify. All of that I learned mainly because of the juice bar, the restaurant, and because so many restaurants didn't have that in place. I would go look around other restaurants, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys using for your POS system? What are you using for this? And it was so outdated that I'm like, I need to do this from scratch almost, or I need to go to the chains, right, that are already franchising. How are they doing it? So then that's what I did. I actually went to Chinatown. And I'm like, okay, what are they doing here, right? They're always more advanced. And of course they had a kiosk. So I added a kiosk to the juice bar. Since day one, too, we've never printed a receipt, which is very important to me. We've always been very high tech, and that's also what customers like when we're right. Everything is accessible and streamlined and easy to communicate. So that is what my role is now at the juice bar, is that to make sure that all the systems are in place. And that's pretty much what I do as a business consultant. I work with business owners, making sure that they have the right software and that they also have the right systems to run their business, but also that they have someone to talk to, because that's what I noticed once I started consulting, was that most people just didn't know where to turn to Toast. They have the best customer service. I can contact them via chat, I can call them, I can email them, and they will respond within an hour. I use it at my juice bars, and it is the best system for a restaurant. You can use it for the kiosk mode. You can use it for the back end kitchen display. You can use it as a mobile device when you go to events or if you have a food truck. So if you are a restaurant owner and you're looking for a POS system, we highly recommend the Toast POS. You can find the link in our description below the podcast. So that's the juice bar. The juice bar, I have 5 years with it now, and I have since sold it. It's a mini franchise, I call it. I decided to sell it. I sold it to my mom, who was managing it. As she was manager, we had employees, and now we turned it where it's just her running it. She's the owner, but she's also the only employee, and she's, and then I get my cut as a franchise owner. Because now I opened the juice bar in Mexico. I became a Mexican citizen right about the time where I opened the first business 7 years ago. And last year I decided to move to Puerto Escondido, Mexico, which is where I live in the winters now. And now that I don't have the tutoring center here, I can pretty much go wherever I want. Because the juice bar runs on its own, almost. It pretty much runs on its own if it has an employee. And the tutoring center just runs on its own online, and I have my staff online. And now I have InstaBizCoach, which is the agency where we're creating courses and content for small business owners in both English and Spanish. And that is my business journey. So now I can tell you a little bit more about how I got into business consulting. Let's talk about Remitly. It is my favorite system for transferring money to Mexico. If you have bank accounts in different countries, or if you have family and friends in different countries you want to send money to, Remitly is the way to go. You can even use your Apple Pay to send money, and it's instantly. I highly recommend Remitly. If you want more information on how to send money abroad, go to the link in the description of the podcast bio. Okay, so let's talk about how I started business consulting. So there are chambers of commerce throughout the United States in small communities where they get resources from the government to help other small business owners. Now, through the chambers of commerce, multiple chambers of commerce I worked with during COVID, they reached out to me and would you be interested in being a business advisor through the US SBDC, the Small Business Administration program? And I said, sure. Why not? I find, I get to help people, and it was remote in person. So I can do both. And yeah, that's what I did. I had my list of businesses that I could reach out to that had free consultations through the government. And I was able to help them develop business plans and marketing plans and financial goal plans. And that is when I realized that every single business owner, no matter if they just started or if they have 20 years in business, every single quarter, you need to look at your business again, see who you're hiring, see if your systems are in place, see if there's new technologies that can help to grow and develop your business, because if not, you will get left behind. Every single business is now a tech company. Even if you're a restaurant, even if you're a daycare, even if you're a beauty salon, you now have some sort of tech that is helping you run your business. And I will help you cover any tools we will start creating webinars. We're going to have a community where all the business owners can find other people that they can speak with and just run ideas by, right? Usually that's what you need, is like, hey, I have this idea. Can I run it by you? Hey, I think I can reduce my finances. How can we do it? Can we sit down and go through it? Hey, I have this marketing idea for TikTok. Can we do that? Hey, should I add my store to e-commerce or a Shopify online store? And I'm like, yes, of course. Do this, do that. And I help with coaching you. And then we can also help provide those services for you. So not only will we say, okay, yeah, let's add your store to Shopify. You can say, okay, can you help me create a website? And we say, yes, our team of experts through InstaBizCoach will help you do that. So I hope this podcast was a good intro onto my background as a business consultant. And I can't wait to be able to help new entrepreneurs and business owners launch their business here in the United States or anywhere in the world, because now your business can be worldwide as well. And this is what I am also encouraging businesses to do, is expand their options. We will go more into depth on how to grow your sales in the next episode. And it will also be a how to start your business 101 episode. So make sure you follow and subscribe so that you're up to date on all the new episodes through the InstaBizCoach Podcast.